Good evening. You're listening to the Xtreme Movie Show. Tonight's episode, Xtreme TV. I'm your host, Rob. Tonight's episode will be covering Season 3 of Cobra Kai, Episodes 5 and 6. I am joined by RDV, and Kung Fu Pixel is with us tonight. Good evening, gentlemen. How are we?
Peach Teen.
Good evening, gentlemen. Do I have to do a friggin' tea ceremony to get you guys a little fired up, or do I have to bring some ex-girlfriend from way back when into you?
Yes, Sensei.
That's exactly. That's the adoration I expect, unlike what Daniel fails to get here in this episode. But hey, let's talk about Cobra Kai Season 3. We've enjoyed it so far. I've been on the negative side of the three of us when it comes to describe it, because I feel like the show's come down to earth in these episodes. I'm finding myself going, okay, I understand that the younger kids are getting pulled in all separate directions. They're living out the sins of their parents in a sense, which is an old story arc, and it's okay to watch. I think they could have milked the Miguel angle coming back a lot longer, and they chose not to, and that's fine. But the show does really well when they mix up a lot of different things. But I think so far some of the best episodes of this season are here, specifically Daniel going overseas. So as we know, guys, the business is in trouble. The evil guy across the street's going to make him an offer he can't refuse because he's going to buy him out because of some backward shady dealing with the Japanese. So Daniel has to fly back to Japan to the head of the company to talk to them, and of course they refute him, and there's only one thing left to do: go back to where it all started, the circle of life, capitalism speaking. He goes back to Okinawa, and he runs into his old flame, who I assume that the two never sealed the deal or had relations, whatever terms people want to say, DTF anymore, because in this episode it's quite clear that Kamiko, or whatever the hell her name is, definitely wants some of the Daniels D, and it's so obvious. I thought, man, what would really make this show great is if they did have an affair. But since it's a wholesome show, they choose not to do it. Go ahead.
I was going to say, well, I don't know about this episode as much as the previous episode, because this episode we really get off of the clip of the last episode, and Chosen has returned. And it actually starts out with a flashback to the Karate Kid sequel.
The fight to the death.
No, exactly. The fight to the death. He comes down on the lamps, and they have the fight, and Danny basically gets him down and says, "Live or die, man." Yeah. And here they don't fight. They actually sit down and have Daniel has a drink, and it was actually Kimiko who called Chosen to come and see Daniel.
Yeah. And you didn't see the film, the second one, and you were like, yeah, I don't know what's going on with it. I will say that your point with the flashback, this show does flashbacks very well, so you get the gist of it without having to see them. But you must have some thoughts on this, RDV.
On episode 5?
5, 6, let's put them both together.
I just want to say 3 little words. I want to rock.
Yeah.
Oh my God, D. Snyder, man. We get Johnny in his back in his 80s clothes. He's got his jean vest on with the shirt and everything. He's got his sleeves pushed up by the elbows, popper thing for rockers back in the day. He takes Miguel. He really what's going on with Miguel is that instead of training, he's getting all depressed stuff. He realizes what he needs is basically just his mom talking to his mom. He just needs to have more fun and stop getting out of his head. So he's like, yeah, I'm going to do something better. So he manages to get him into this club, a private concert, and Miguel's in the wheelchair and everything. And he's got his backpack on there. I'm like, what's with the backpack at first? I didn't really notice it first, so I saw it. So the boss is like, yeah, sorry, I can't, little man. He's not 21. He's like, dude, he's a Make-A-Wish kid, he's really not feeling well. He's like his last one thing. And he's like, final limb, man, yeah. So they're in there, like these to the left of Johnny. He's got these hot babes in there. He's like, hey, what's up, ladies? And he's in there, and he's like, they're having fun and everything. And D. Snyder pauses after singing a song. He basically looks like, hey, I just got word that we got a Make-A-Wish kid in here. So let's let's make some noise for this kid. Yeah, let's fulfill it. It's like let's get him fulfill his all his wishes. And the ladies are kind of looking at him. He's like, and Miguel's like kind of blushing. He's like, oh man, they really want me. And
nothing like death.
In the 80s, just to interrupt real quick, in the 80s, he would have gotten some out in the parking lot easily. Then the after party, maybe a second round. I'm not joking.
So bringing back the thing is he's in there. After all that, after the ladies basically look at him. What's really cool about this is that he'll put this backpack. Remember, it's this key thing. It's like because I was wondering why is it the backpack? Pulls out 2 brewskis, bro. He got the little coolers on him and everything. He's like, and he starts to start drinking, and then so of course the song plays "I Want to Rock," by D. Center. And while they're having fun, they're all bopping their head and stuff. We look down, and Johnny's like, "Hey," he's like points down his foot. Miguel's foot's moving to the beat.
Yep.
So I'm kind of glad that he's actually like starting to get like stuff back for it because I'm like we can't stretch this out any longer. He's got to start healing faster, because this is like I want him. Gotta have the final fight at the end, probably. So, but like I said, I love this movie. It's calling back to the '80s. Like I said, I love the '80s, and the music, just the feel of it. Nobody was pricked. If anybody was a prick, they got their ass beat.
But they didn't.
They did.
They did, bro. Back in the '80s, yes, but I'm
80s, '70s. Oh, and I'm just saying.
This episode, in fact, has the opposite. Because while that's going on, we also have the kids. So it's I can't remember his name. The black kid, the big black kid.
Wow.
I'm sorry. Fine. The big African-American teenager that's working at the arcade. He's working at the arcade, and
his name is Chris.
Chris?
He's working at Chuck E. Cheese.
That's not Chuck E. Cheese. It's supposed to be Chuck E. Cheese, but it's not Chuck E. Cheese.
Remember, this is in California. They have better Chuck E. Cheese than we do.
Sure.
I don't know about that.
You've never been to a Florida Chuck E. Cheese, Bateman, but
obviously yours does not sound as cool as the one in the show. So obviously it's not as cool, bro. Continue rambling.
Yes. Cobra Kai comes in. They are acting like assholes. They are stealing tickets, messing up games, and then they get.
But the hooligans.
Weird.
It's left the dojo.
Yeah. I mean, the fighting has left the dojo. The kids go to the counter and they drop tickets. Get us a bobblehead, and they say to Chris, I guess his name is, and Chris, he begrudgingly goes to get it, and then stupid Hawk jumps over the counter and starts taking the stuffed animals and throwing it. After that, he texts Danny's daughter and says Cobra Kai is messing with me at work, and it leads the daughter to pretty much gather the troops, and they go to meet at I guess there's a laser tag thing in that arcade, and there's a showdown.
That looked like glow in the dark mini golf.
It could have been.
Yeah, I got to tell you, the thing about this scene here is it's such a contrast to what's going on with the adults because, Daniel's so far away. The mom's just really almost a secondary figure. I mentioned a 5-second cameo of Daniel Russo's son, Sam's younger kid that has absolutely nothing to do with this entire show, and I have no idea why the hell he's been in here. But to your point, the thing with Sam is she's kind of having like her little, oh my gosh, PTSD, I'm so stressed out vibe, even though she's trying to hook up with Miguel because she can't stand not having attention on her. But I do like her leading the group of people because the point here that I think gets glossed over, and I just mentioned it briefly, was that it has left the dojo. It's not just a fight that was at All Valley, and it's not just a fight there. This is like a street war between two gangs. As dumb as it sounds, with a bunch of little tiny, high schooler looking kids that look like they're in middle school. I know they're younger kids and all that, but it's like, wow, it really just you know, the whole impact of what happened before, which seemed like it was a much bigger thing due to Miguel's violent ending there of season 2, it's not going away. So it's definitely a big contrast to what's going on with LaRusso, because yeah, and this isn't the last time they kind of go at it. So it actually, I think, is pretty decent karate. But I'm going to ask you guys both this in general.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm asking, what do we think of the karate? Because while I enjoyed it, and I think the filming of the karate scenes are somewhat fluid and enjoyable, and you can watch definitely the way they're choosing to show you what's on film. You know, you have something here in the foreground, but in the background you see something, and while the camera moves, there's just a continuity. The problem I'm having with some of this is two things, and I'll let both you guys kind of comment on this. While that D. Snyder thing, and that's legitimately him, you know, singing and all that felt really forced to me, but I did like it, but it felt forced. And I think between that and the karate scene you just mentioned, Pixel, is this. I'm seeing where I know they're not really making contact. There's probably some stunt doubles. A lot of them are trying to do a lot of it their own. But this is some really, really bad filming where I'm seeing 2-3 inches of like somebody's punch or swing or whatever go through. And the striking, the filming of it just looks awful overall to me, just this whole season 3. Is it just me, or have you guys noticed stuff like that?
Well, two things.
I didn't notice anything.
The two things. Yes, the karate is Hollywood's version of karate. It's slow down, it's sloppy, it's not real karate, which you would get watching martial arts in various any of our Asian other countries over there. They do, especially South Korean, Chinese, Hong Kong, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. They're actually doing it. So it's authentic, it looks real, and it's not slowed down, because that's, and as I said, we talked about with Jackie Chan. That's why he left Hollywood, because they wanted him to slow down. He's like, no, it's called, you learn how to do it or don't do it at all. It was an insult to him. So I noticed with the karate, yeah, this is your we should get like your American Ninja karate or no, not really. Don't know crap about
American Ninja.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just saying the filming of it looks so bad.
Yes.
This season, I mean.
Yes. The other thing I want to point out that I disagree with you is the D. Snyder thing was important because Miguel really took a shining to.
I agree, it was important.
And it didn't even feel forced.
Yeah.
If anything, this whole gang war felt forced. Her having the PST did not make sense. Because why?
It did make sense.
No, it didn't. No, she got over it though.
It didn't happen until Tori came in, and Tori is a bitch. I don't care what you say, Rob. Tori is a bitch.
It doesn't make a difference. It doesn't make a difference though. You gotta realize though, Pixel. It doesn't make a difference whether Tori came in or not. The fact that the show went wrong is that she should have started up and faced her fears. If she can go to school, why couldn't she face Tori? Because Tori didn't kick her ass. Tori did not kick her ass in the last season. The only thing would cut her.
She did. We showed flashbacks to the last season.
Yeah, and Tori did not kick her ass though. They were even for the most part.
But it was still, that whole experience was traumatic. That whole thing.
Of course it was traumatic. I was forced to watch it.
Destroyed their life.
Spoiled little rich girl has to have on her, gets a little tiny flesh wound.
But I realize the reason they're doing it is because Miguel is hurt. So they need somebody else to look like a lackey. You know. And the other reason they did it too, because they really want to amp up the final scene of this series, which I haven't watched it, but I know it better be damn well good, because we got one guy who's got his arm broken out.
Yes.
From Hawk. And don't call him stupid Hawk, because Hawk's not stupid in this thing. It's just cause that
Hawk's an asshole.
He's an asshole, but he's not stupid though.
Agreed.
He is seriously the only character that I truly hate.
Someone say you're a little bit triggered by him.
Man, that's
sure.
That your explanation is horrific. Wow. So, as far as the 2 episodes go, let's pivot to the LaRusso thing with Chosen. So, the Karate Kid Part 2 at the time in the 80s, a lot of people love the original one because it's somewhat wholesome. You can be a young kid and watch it. It's not really gory or anything, especially with what was out in theaters at that time in the 80s. So it was a nice family-friendly type movie that everybody can kind of relate to. But some of us guys didn't like the fact that a lot of the gals said, oh, this guy is so cute, and whatever. And you know, as guys, you know, back in the golden age of bodybuilding, we looked at men who had manly bodies and were physical and looked like men with, you know, lots of facial hair and all that sort of stuff and fast cars. And of course, the standards a lot lower and less than today. Everyone wants to be metrosexual, or, you know, I don't even know what the hell the term is people throw on these days, where everybody looks the same, like some stupid K-pop band, which means all of them. But the thing is, when you look at the second film, it came out late enough where the people that saw the film didn't really care about it. Only the diehards went to see it. And all the junior high and high schoolers really didn't see the second Karate Kid. And the second Karate Kid's a good film, but it's more of a film for adults. And the ending of it, which Pixel, you said you hadn't really seen last week at the time of this, and the good flashbacks we have, he was supposed to fight Chosen to the death. And it may look a little hokey, and then the film were Chosen sliding down the lantern string or whatever until he gets in there, but he was going to kill Kamiko and all that. And it was a big deal because of how everything was in the family and how he's breaking protocol. And that's a huge deal over there. And Daniel lets him off the hook. So again, it could be argued that LaRusso, despite the fact that he was raised by Miyagi and by all intents and purposes, you know, it was the father figure, it totally shows how Daniel, again, shows no respect for karate and everything else there, too, as a warrior, because that's what's been egging Chosen on this entire time. He wanted to die honorably in his mind because he lost the fight. Despite the fact he shouldn't have done something, he respected the karate well enough to do it. And frankly, there was absolutely zero chance in hell Russo was going to win, just like he wasn't going to win in the All Valley. When you watch the second film, you're like, man, Chosen's jacked. He's a good-looking dude. He moves like he's something. He could have been probably a B or C-level action star, and frankly, I never even looked up the guy's stuff. But seeing him now older, he's still fit. He's got that jerk look. He's staring daggers into him. And then in this episode, they're buddies, and I'm like, what? And then it's the excuse where they have some sort of prior relationship, only so LaRusso could be taught the special maneuver. And that being said, while you may like or not like the way this unfolds, I think it was done very well, specifically Chosen and Daniel fighting, and Daniel's arms going numb limb by limb as Chosen striking. I'm like, okay, this is kind of badass. I like it. What did you guys think?
Well, yeah, not to gloss over too much. Chosen basically is basically set up to take him a tour of the place, and Daniel is kind of like, oh, I've been here before. He's like, oh, so you think you know everything? And then like they go back to reveal that Chosen's uncle, you know, was basically like, he's I guess which is Miyagi's brother, I believe, or related somehow. Forgot what it was, but specifically, but he reveals him, that there is another form of technique that they was taught, you know, for the Miyagi stuff, as far as martial arts, that Daniel was never taught, and he proves that when they're going back on the little wooden training stand, kind of what you saw Daniel was doing in the first season with Robbie. They're on that little wooden platform.
And we're Sammy's making out with any guy that gets on there. Yeah. So,
no, so basically, I like the fact they brought back little nods to the first season and back to the first movie and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I like it made sense because I was kind of like Miyagi is only a defensive thing, you know, but it makes sense to have, you know, they have a pressure point system as far as for a little bit of slight. It explains back in when they're invaded and stuff, they had to have, you know, to be able to, they're basically self-defense, but they do fight back. So the way there's a non-lethal form of fighting back, they would just paralyze you, you know, momentarily by knowing pressure points. Which is, and I always love when in martial arts movies somebody hits a pressure point, you know, because that's cool. Oh yeah, that's cool. It's like you just pop for that. It's like, oh crap, he's gonna die. It's like, you know, the bad, and we've seen, so that was kind of cool. So they kind of bond over that, you know. And he teaches him how he's like, it's like maybe now you know. He's like, and he's like, and Danny's like, well, Miyagi, I guess doesn't think I was ready for it. He's like, well, it's, I like the fact that two enemies finally, you know, bonded, you know, over it, and it wasn't cleared up the air. Because the second movie, I agree, Daniel's son, there was no way he'd win, especially if that guy, if Chosen knew this technique. Why didn't he do it in the tournament or when I
don't think he do it then. See, the most important thing that this shows is growth. And that's the whole thing. That when he's explaining that I wanted to die in that moment, he's grown since then. He's changed as a person. And I know, Rob, you said that people are who they are, but this show takes them. this whole show's point is that people aren't just who they are. They change, and perspectives is everything. And
Do they?
is important.
A warrior, so the only thing he wants here is to kind of feel like, you know, hey,
wiser.
I can kind of bury this little part of my life, but he's still a warrior about the way he goes about doing it. I don't think this is a happy thing he's doing. I think he's doing it under a lot of duress.
I don't think so. No,
he's not happy that Daniel's there. He's just going, okay, I'm going to.
At first, no.
Go ahead.
At first, but then you realize, he said, like, you realize his mistakes and stuff. His uncle, because like I said, after that their fight, you know, and the Karate Kid 2, his uncle scolded and reminded him, you know, everything. So he realized his ways. Now we get that sense, you know, because they do it for purpose, because he's just kind of guy as he is. He was messing with Daniel the whole entire time, which I thought was funny.
Exactly. It's kind of funny.
And then it was
exactly.
I was like, not seeing it coming up, but I was like, that's great that he did it though, because like we're led to believe it. Like he's gonna, like, now he's finally got his revenge. Daniel's gonna get his, you know, it's really hurt, and then he's like, boop, gotcha. Look how stupid you are. Ha 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 ha. It's like I thought that was great.
You know, the thing about all that, you know, I enjoyed it. I thought they were spectacular.
But I want to bring up a point though that Pixel brought up as far as growth, and that brings me to a scene with Kreese and Amanda LaRusso. She goes in after Dimitri's arm gets snapped by Hawk. She goes in there, basically threatens him, and he kind of like
after hours,
you know, he basically gets, you know, hits her. He's like, "Ooh, you're feisty." He's like, you know, maybe you want to do some training yourself, you know. And she slaps him, and he's like, you know. So we see right there, Kreese got a little bit of growth himself, because.
But there's an important part
smart.
that you
Kreese
missed.
stupid.
The reason why she went there, because whenever the kid, Dimitri, I think his name is, went into the hospital for his arm, the mom goes over to the hospital and sees her daughter there, and she's like, "Really, another karate fight?" And then she sees that her daughter is sitting there in tears.
Didn't really gloss over it. It wasn't really important because, you know, because
it is.
She was ready to go. She was ready to go over there and just she wanted to do this the whole entire time. You know, but Daniel would always handle it. Daniel's not there. He's not there, so she had to step up because her man wasn't there. And even Kreese even says like, "Oh, now we're sending the women to fight. Daniel's not man enough to come face me himself."
But that's not important. I mean,
that is important.
Is important to the next episode where it amps up that angle. But the important scene in this moment is why she went there, because Cobra Kai is bullying Miyagi-Do. There's no doubt about that. And if you say otherwise, you are wrong. Because she went over there to show that they couldn't be bullied.
But you gotta realize that though, Cobra Kai's been doing that since the first season.
Ever the right way to handle the situation?
Yeah. It's not. You know, if she was smart,
so
she would have went to the cops first.
It's important in terms of the episode because later on we find out that her slapping him has a significant impact on the way the show is going to go in the next few episodes. My point is I think it's important for the reasons that it reveals her character. You know, she pretty much, and I hate saying it this way, but that's definitely the way it feels watching the show. She pretty much let Daniel do his karate thing. She's clearly a woman that doesn't give a rat's ass about something that was the most impactful on Daniel LaRusso's life. Their marriage seems like a sham. She's just happy because they make a lot of money selling really expensive foreign cars. She's the one that we've seen being the smart businesswoman behind everything while he's the closer. So in that sense, business-wise, they make a good team. But frankly, like I say, they don't seem like they have any passion between them. There's certainly no chemistry on screen. And the fact that they contrast that with the fact that when Kimiko's on screen, definitely has the hots for him. Basically, she's not that girl, sad little pathetic girl that's waiting for the lover that's never going to return any of that nonsense. But the sparks are instantly there. She seems very cultured. She doesn't seem like she's a little girl anymore. That's the last view that we have of Kimiko. So for her to portray that being an older woman, I think does a great job. The real injustice here is that when they tease the little hands touching with LaRusso and Kimiko, it's like, Daniel, you're putting yourself in the wrong position to do stuff. Also, he can conveniently get the one letter that makes him feel special because Miyagi says had written something about it and all that. too. And then the worst convenient thing that's happened at all in all 3 episodes or 3 seasons of the series is this. When he goes to leave the island, it turns out he doesn't know what the hell he's going to do. He didn't even stoop her or nothing like that might make things uncomfortable that they could do something with later on. It's so pukey, unrealistic. It's just not good. But then secondly, Kamiko, kind of has an in. I don't remember if it's her like niece or something like that just so happens to be on the board, I think, of the company that refused Daniel's originals transactions. So they're going to work together and boo it, and then bang, just solve the business entirely. It's
the little girl he saved in the Karate Kid too.
That's it.
Yes,
that's it. And they flash back to it.
Diana. Yeah, she's a little kid they saved, and turns out that she works at the dealership. She's the vice president. As Kuka says, like, see, it's like good, good always transfer the past.
Put good into the world, and the world will give good back to you.
Yep, exactly.
It's a point.
It's conveniently schlocky, though.
I didn't dislike it though.
I gotta say though,
like, okay,
apart from that scene, there's a scene with Johnny trying to get Miguel to walk, and this felt like Rob and like Professor Pixel, a scene right here, But so Rob's up there with a fishing pole. You see this, and then you see him dangling a booby magazine to Pixel's in the wheelchair.
No. Hold on. That was the Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue. That was, I think, the 3rd one I had. Those things in the history of Sports Illustrated were the biggest selling ones by far, and they've totally gone away from it at all. But those were definitely an iconic item in the 80s going into the 90s. Absolutely zero doubt about it. And I'm going, yeah, I remember this one. And then this other one had Rachel Ward, and this other one had blah, blah, blah. The Rick Ocasek one. I mean, all of these, and it's like, yep.
Yeah. As Pixel Miguel would point out, I can just look online. He's like boobs look better on paper, bro.
Better on the page.
Better on the page. So
I think it'd be.
So we get a little thing where he's just telling about the story of the term hibachi and what it stands for and all stuff. And he told Botch that he's like, and he calls them like China people. He's like, he's not PC. So as we know, as far as Johnny goes, that's what I love about him. He's like, he's the guy. He's like, I don't give a shit. I just want to drink, have fun, and all that stuff. He's grown up. Yeah, he's not really done much with himself because he became an alcoholic and everything. I understand that, but I love the fact that he's so like, as far as what's going on the internet, he finally figures out how to freaking turn the computer on.
Yep, and gets on Facebook.
And I guess he gets this message from her and like from what's her name?
Allie.
And she's like, hey, what you been up to? So.
And then we go to the next episode.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, except for friend class, So what's cool about as far as that episode, I liked it. It had its good things. Obviously, it sets it up for the next what's going on, what's going to happen. The fight scene, what I thought was actually it had to happen because you remember in the first movie. They went around. They beat up Daniel. Went to parties and all that stuff. Daniel was never safe. And plus, they built up this tension there. So they're really setting up as far as you're seeing kind of like Miguel. Kind of like, is he really Cobra Kai still, or is he still with his bond strong with Johnny? The fact that Johnny is no longer Cobra Kai, but I wonder what's going to happen. But going into the next episode, I mean, if you guys don't have anything else to say about it, the next episode, I like the fact that he's like teaching him. He's trying to get him to walk again, and he's got him on a freaking like, which one? Like a hoist with the safety strap on him, and he's got a. I'm thinking like that ceiling's not gonna hold. I don't care how much you weigh. I'm like, but I guess, but Johnny, if he knows anything, he knows construction. He's perfected it. I guess
that's true.
but I do like him. He's like, look, he's basically trying to get him to walk, and each time he's like, good. It's like, that was a better fall. It's like,
take 5.
But like I said, like I even in this episode, I believe it's episode 6, where they went out for like, that's what it's basically Miguel and Johnny. They basically are like, they're taking a break from this, and Miguel notices, like, what's that huge freaking story you got on your Facebook? He's like, you got a Facebook? He's like, wow. It's like, so
Writing a novel?
He's like, oh, I was gonna send this. She asked myself. He's like, you cannot send that. It's like he's like girls like small interactions and all. And it's like it was like, and I remember he said something about it's like, well, at least he didn't go and do something stupid and like our photos. He's like, why would I not like our photos? It's like he doesn't know how to interact. He's like, I love Johnny's raising. They wouldn't have a like button there if I'm not supposed to use it. But yeah, so he's like, well, and I love obviously it's a trope now. He gets carried away, Johnny being an idiot. He's like, well, I'll just just do what take photos and do stuff, what she likes, taking a photo with him, bringing a book, and he throws it in the trash can, all this stuff, eating the sushi. But this leads up after this little comical thing. This actually leads up to Tori seeing Miguel after Johnny went to go to the bathroom. And she's like, how do you know I work at this place, at the restaurant they're eating at? He's like, no, I didn't know. It's like, and they sit down and like, this is where basically you're seeing the rift growing greater, between Tori and Miguel. Miguel is like, because Tori's like, oh, we're all pulling through, we're not, he's like, Miguel's kind of like, bitch, you didn't do anything at all. I'm the one that got hurt. Why are you guys all salty? It's like you another part of this. He's like, and I forget what he said. He's like, I think he just said, like, you need to worry about yourself first. Like, get yourself right. I forget the wording he said. I don't know if you probably remember, but the way he said it though, even though he's correct, you never say that to a woman.
Well, that's one of the things here is that in the younger generation today, this supposedly PC whatever world, doesn't change the fact that men and women have a certain dynamic that you can gloss over it all you want to. He's young, he doesn't know how to handle women, it has to be expected, but it should be fairly obvious to him that the way Tori is, she's a very passionate individual, she values loyalty to a fault, and that's where I joke about her being the most sincere character is that she's got that heart where if you're straight with her and you tell her how like it is, she respects that. And that is an adult characteristic. That's not this juvenile Samantha stuff about, oh, woe is me, I want somebody to look at me, let me buy a cute card so maybe I can make ends on the guy that I dumped, and on all that other crap stuff. And that's why I find her more refreshing. But you're absolutely right. This is a scene that as soon as they sit down and they have that conversation, she gets that look on her face, and then it's on. I mean, and he doesn't know what the hell he's doing. You're totally right. And it's basically what I'm saying is the men in the show don't know how to handle women at all. Mm-hmm. And you could argue that from even Johnny, the way Allie, is going to pump up and everything else too. That if they just have things in check, things would run a lot smoother. You got to run your household. LaRusso's not doing it.
We're not being sexist here either. This is just the way it is. It's a.
The only one
we disagree. You can leave us a comment.
Down is Creed. That's it.
But Pixel, what did you take of this thing? This whole scene with Tori. Do you care for it? Do you think it was a pointless to be in there, or do you think it's, or like, it's all right?
No, I'm trying to remember the exact details of the scene because honestly, I do not care for her character. I understand that she goes through hard things, but I do not see her as the angel that Rob sees her as.
I think
not at all.
I think Rob's a little biased.
It's consistency of your action and your thought. No, it has nothing to do with that. You want consistency of character. So if somebody's a jerk, like Kreese, you know what you're dealing with, right? What happens in the show, the situations, and the way he chooses to handle things demonstrates two things. One, he's very consistent, and yes, they're working on fleshing out, what's going on with him and all that. But he's not stupid either. He knows people, and he knows how people are going to be in situations. So we can argue about him being a bad guy, right? But the point is he's consistent. You know what you're getting. I'm saying it's the same thing with Tori. That's where she gets her strength. She has to rely on herself. She doesn't like screwing around. She doesn't have time to waste like Samantha does going, oh, woe is me and this and that. And you can argue whatever reasons why she's in a tough position at home. She's consistent. You get Sam, who's wishy-washy. You get LaRusso. The entire LaRusso clan's wishy-washy. You have the smart business mom slapping a guy in the face like I say it's going to come back to haunt him. You could argue that the most wishy-washy, unlikable people are the entire LaRusso line, and it's because of that inconsistency of of character. Look at Hawk. You said he was an asshole. He did an asshole thing. You can already see from his eyes that he's got this inner conflict going on. He's wishy-washy. That's a sign of weakness. Tori's not going to respect that. And that's just what it is. If you're consistently whatever it is that you are, you have strength of character. And whether you argue that's positive or negative, we can debate, is up in the air. We could argue that Sam's doing a positive thing by rounding up and retaliating, saying, hey, we're not going to be bullied. I get it, but she's displaying the same sort of I'm going to act first and not think about things till later that the mom's already doing by slapping Kreese. And in a way, you could say LaRusso's the only one that has brains in the family despite him being a wuss-ass because he wants to think about how things are going to affect other things, and he's the only one that has this kind of omnipotent prescience when it comes to, well, how's this going to affect relationships? He's the only one that cares about it, except maybe Tori.
I will say this, as far as Danny goes, Danny's having a midlife crisis. That's the whole entire point of this, because now he's got all his past catching up to. He doesn't Miyagi ask for questions, so he's finally trying to get better. Obviously he's making mistakes, just like Miyagi. We can't put Miyagi being up there like perfect. Miyagi is revealed to have his own flaws. So,
yes.
But as far as I kind of agree with you about Tori being a little bit better than Sam, only sense because Tori is more mature than Sam is. Tori's working 2 jobs to support her younger brother and her mom, dealing with a guy who basically wants a landlord. He's like, hey, if you give me sexual favors, I'll lower the rent. Don't worry about it. She's underage. She's probably 17, 16, working jobs, and then trying to also balance school as well.
Light years ahead of any other 17-year-old.
Yeah. Sam is kind of a spoiled rich kid in the sense that she doesn't have to worry about that. Right. She went out looking for a fight as retaliation instead of thinking ahead.
That doesn't excuse bad behavior. Tori,
did I say that? Did I say that?
They are pretty much saying that they're going to attack Miyagi-Do.
I did not say that Tori, in the sense that, because yes, she has her own things. Yes, she's still misguided. She's with a bad crowd. I'm not making excuses. You're making excuses for Sam being, I'm just, I get Tori so much worse than him. That's why I like Sam. Sam's so cool. No, Sam has her own flaws. And I agree with this. Accept it, bro. Sam is
she does have flaws.
She is. She's the freaking Allie, whatever it is, in this group, whatever her name is, the one that loved. That's what her name was. Was it Allie, the one that they liked?
Yes, the one that they fought over in the first movie. Yes.
That's her. That's been her model, her go-to. Despite the fact that she's Daniel's daughter, she's been basically like, well, I liked you, Johnny, but I found someone better. But now I don't want either one of you. But since she's taking it further, Sam is like, oh, but now I want to go back to Johnny, and Johnny says it's kind of like, really?
Johnny's pussing out. He's being a simp with Allie.
But let's talk about what's better than this. We get to see more of Kreese's flashbacks to what's turning him in Vietnam with his buddies.
These are legitimately almost dark feeling. It's good.
Oh.
It's really good.
Yes.
Dark feeling. They are dark. The whole thing is that they basically tell Kreese, you can't hesitate. You have to be brutal. It's a live. You either live for the moment or you're going to end up dying if you wait a second.
You know what I want? I want a movie just about Kreese's his past. That's what I want. The Kreese years. No. Untold story of Kreese. No, because literally he's in the military right there. He's basically what Daniel was. But he realized that, hey, you hesitate, people die. It was his fault because he didn't do anything. So, but getting to that point, he meets his military commander, tells him to come to 10. He sees him doing the jujitsu, whatever you call it, with the arm thing, the wood tree. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And working on that. And he basically he's like, you are like anybody else. He's like, how many soldiers are you? He's like probably 10,000, 100,000 more soldiers. He's like, yeah, but how many of them are actually going to survive? How many of them are actually I need killing machines, and I look at you, it's like, you're not afraid of anything. And Kreese says, what's the point of being afraid? And he agrees with you. He's like, you all these guys, the minute you become afraid, you die. So he says it back since 1968. He's like, dude, you need strength, you need determination, you need brutality. Is that all you have to do is say, yes, I will mold you into the ultimate weapon. And what has Kreese always said? I'll turn you into killers, So Kreese kind of uses his model from this guy. But the only problem with Kreese though is that what really turned him, what really changed him, is his buddies. His buddies, you know, were obviously giving teasing, getting a letter from his girlfriend or small room. Like, oh, look at this, you know, it's like a really hot girl, you know, like he's top dog and stuff. They're set on a mission. The goal, and his buddy was supposed to go, you know, set the mine, blow it up. His stupid other idiot has the radio volume on super freaking loud, so they get feedback. It causes alerts their position, and his commanders tell him, blow the freaking thing. I can't, I'll kill him. He's like, blow it or we all die. Kreese hesitates. So instead, they're all rounded up, and his buddy, who should have been dead, you know, he dies anyway, gets shot in the head for the Kreese. And that's where it kind of leaves out there. So I always thought maybe something happened at home with Kreese, like where his girlfriend, in this case, left and went back to the other guy because, you know, that's why he was salty. No, it's the war. And yes, it's just cliche, you know, because, you know, people have PSD and all that stuff, you know, as always, it's common knowledge. But doesn't, you know, the war changes people. It's true. No matter what you say and all, he's like, well, no, not me. It will change me. We all have our breaking points. And Kreese realized the only way to survive is to strike first. And that's just kind of like what he does. And part of him he regrets his decision. He blames himself for that. Even today, you see him the present day, after seeing this flashback, you see him holding a photo of his two buddies. So obviously, I'm thinking, we don't know who all survived, if the other buddy or if it's just Kreese survived by himself. We don't know. Maybe we'll get that in the next episode, another flashback, because I'm curious, you know, as far as Kreese. Did he survive by himself? You know, how did he make it out? Was he like basically like every 80s movie? Was he like Stallone? Made it out alive by myself. No,
there is no easy way out.
Yeah.
Well, let me close up with my final thoughts by saying that you know, some pretty spirited debate tonight about what's happening in this episode. We didn't even touch on everything, but it's the meat and potatoes of it. Really, really entertaining episodes. Some stuff I felt was a bit but that being said, after 3 seasons, even as well as Cobra Kai has been, I'm still entertained by it. I'm not hating on any of it. I do like the fact that we do get invested in what's happened with some of the characters, so it'll be interesting to see what happens in episodes 7 and 8. Pixel, any final thoughts?
I just have to bring up one more scene because there's a scene with Miguel and Johnny towards the end, and Miguel basically calls Johnny out for running away from the students because he pretty much gave up the dojo. He gave up Cobra Kai. He said that he would stake bring back, and Miguel flat out tells him, "No, your mistake was helping a bunch of people and then walking away." And he just left it to Kreese. And in that moment, Johnny looks down because he's still in the harness, and he lets go, and he says, "Look," and Miguel is standing. And I'm hoping what this is leading to is basically Johnny getting Cobra Kai back, because Cobra Kai doesn't have to be bad. The fact is that Kreese is making it how it is. Right. And that's why they're pretty much having a war. If Johnny was still there, there'd actually be somebody who's sane behind it. But I really enjoyed these episodes. You're right. We're getting to some of the best parts of this season.
There's
and it's been solid the entire way through.
I'll keep this short. There's only 2 more things we got to talk about. Robbie and Juvie is now buddies with this inmate. They had that fight. He took Kreese's advice, got in the fight, defend himself. But at the end, neither one of them snitches. You know, so I'm not a rat. So now we're seeing Robbie embracing more of his darker side. He doesn't care anymore. The other scene is that we're seeing Hawk is becoming more and more like letting his aggression out, especially when he finds out he's confronting his bullies. The people made fun of him, call him ass face all the time. He basically had the bullies are recruited by Kreese. Kreese is like went around. He got a wrestler. He got like, you know, a basketball player.
You got real life athletes.
Yeah, he got real life athletes. Brought them in. And at this point, like a lot of people have brought this up too. I've seen. I'm not really in reviews, but I mean, like I've heard as far as like word of mouth. Why would Kreese is got to pay rent somehow. So he's gonna like, you know, he promised you like, oh, I'll turn you guys into fighting machines, and then just kicks them out because they're weak. So like, and he brings in these new kids. You know, are these new kids gonna pay? The parents pay for this? That's another thing. But Hawk sees his bullies in there. The one that beat up Miguel in the bathroom, the one that's pirate, the one that likes Sam. He's in there. He beats up the first guy, and the guy, and he's like, and Chris like, where are you going? Like, kid's like, I'm going back in line. He's like, no, you lost. You're weak. You're not Cobra Kai material. Get out of here. So then the next one is the other big bully. He's like a big old fat guy. He's like, oh, who's next? I want to get this. It's cool. I want to beat some. And basically Hawk says, you know what? Screw it. I'm next. And Hawk just beats the shit out of him. I'm sorry if I'm dropping any swears, but I mean, like, that was like, and he wouldn't stop. You just see the blood splatting towards the end there. He just let all his rage out from being bullied into these people. So he's getting some closure. But now and you see the Asian kid, the one that he's kind of like, holy crap, this kid, we made fun of him. I'm not because even he's like, because he punched the kid in the face, but he didn't keep going like Hawk did. Hawk, like British Super Pros, like, dude, this kid's a psychopath, and I'm gonna think. Now he basically rethought, shit, I ain't making fun of him anymore.
Well, because of that scene, I said, okay, I have to now officially say Kreese is the bad guy and not giving him any shades of gray or any of that, because as someone that's involved in a lot of youth activities as a coach, I got to sit there and say that's just bad coaching on his part, and I have no problems with him being old school in his training, but that's too far. And so, Kreese to me is officially a bad guy. That's
what he says, what he says at the end, somebody dragged his body out of here.
He said somebody pick him up.
Pretty much same thing.
Yeah,
those are two different things. Take this body out of here.
It's like kickboxer. It's like kickboxer, bro. It's like kickboxer when his brother gets beat up. They just put him on a stretcher and they dump him in the middle of the street.
But you're right. He does get closure. The only character that really doesn't need any closure. Oh my gosh. Hawk is a terrible person, guys. He is totally transformed, and his transformation has led him to being.
I hope he is. I hope he is, because we saw how he was hesitant to break Dimitri's arm in the last episode, and he finally did it. So now he's at the point where he's like, you know what? I'm going 100%. And he can't give in.
I'm looking forward to going 100% on the next two episodes too, and see exactly what happens with Hawk, because there's definitely some character stuff in play that's going to be worth talking about too. So things are definitely picking up here in season 3 of Cobra Kai. So for Pixel, for RDB, and myself, Rob, here at the Xtreme Movie Show, tonight's episode, of course,